They say money can't buy happiness, but it buys the kind of silence where the truth can hide. I didn't always have it. The money, I mean. I earned every cent the hard way. Through sacrifice, failure, stubbornness, and more than a few nights, curled up on my office floor with a stomach empty and a heart fuller than I deserved. But when I did finally make it, when the deals went through, when the app exploded, when the term sheets came flying, I didn't throw parties or buy yachts. Gave. Quietly. Anonymously. I built scholarships for kids like me. Paid off random medical debts. Kept receipts only in my soul. What I didn't realize was that money didn't just make me visible. It made everyone else visible too. The hungry, the desperate, the greedy, and the ones who wore friendship like a second skin. Her name was Marla. And for a while, I thought she was the best thing to happen to me. We met in a cafe in Lisbon. I was passing through, taking my first break in 5 years. She complimented my scarf, then asked to share the outlet to charge her dying phone. It started like that. Easy, unscripted. 2 solo travelers swapping stories and coffee and laughter. She was warm, open, sharp-witted, and well-read. The kind of person who made you feel seen in a room full of strangers. When I told her what I did, tech founder, social enterprise, moderate success, she didn't blink, didn't fawn. Just nodded and said, "I figured, you carry pressure like it's a watch." That line stuck with me. So did she. Like and subscribe if you've ever been burned by someone who smiled while they did it. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Because sometimes the most expensive thing you'll ever own is the truth. We stayed in touch. Texts, calls, the occasional late-night video chat. She lived in Chicago. I was based in LA, but distance never felt like a wall. Within months, she was visiting. By month 6, she'd moved in. It was fast. Too fast. But love doesn't ask for your calendar. It just arrives. She supported me, or seemed to. She cheered me on in interviews, sat through board meetings, made me tea when my migraines came crashing in. But little things started to add up. One day I found her going through my drawers looking for a headache pill, she said. Another time, she knew the name of a private investor I had never mentioned to her. Then she began asking questions, subtle ones, about my will. About who would inherit what if something happened. I chalked it up to curiosity, to worry. Until the night I overheard her on the phone. It was 1:14 a.m. She was in the guest bathroom, thinking I was asleep. I had forgotten to turn off the hallway diffuser and walked out to do it. That's when I heard it. "No, I'm telling you. He's obsessed with me. If I can get the ring on my finger, we're set. He's got trusts on top of trusts. The idiot won't even notice what's missing." I stopped breathing. "I'm playing the long game." She laughed. "A few more weeks tops, he just has to think it's love." Silence, then with a smirk in her voice, "Worst case, I marry him, wait the minimum time, and divorce. California law is my prenup." I stood in the dark like I'd been shot, not physically, something deeper, a wound beneath every breath. I didn't confront her that night. I waited. I let the silence grow between us. I let her keep pretending. Let her wrap herself deeper into the performance. And then I made a decision. If she wanted my money, she could have none of it. Not 1 cent, not 1 crumb, but she wouldn't even know it until the wedding. She proposed 2 weeks later, at sunset, on the cliffs of Big Sur. Yes, she proposed to me. It was public, loud, performed for social media, for cameras, for witnesses. I smiled, said yes, held her close, whispered, "I love you too." Because the best lies are the ones you feed the liar. What she didn't know was that I had spent the past 6 days meeting with lawyers, transferring every asset I owned into charitable trusts, donor-advised funds, and locked foundations. I kept just enough to pay my rent and vanish. Everything else, gone, untouchable. The mansion, signed over to a nonprofit that rehabilitated veterans. My stock, distributed to an underfunded school district foundation. My bank account, emptied into a blind trust that would be doled out only to strangers. She wouldn't inherit my money. She'd inherit my absence. 3 days before the wedding, she had no idea. She was glowing, posting photos, tagging Shark Richlove and Charblessed. She was already shopping for matching Range Rovers. And I was making my final call to a woman named Celeste. She ran a shelter. Quiet, no PR. Helped women escaping abusive relationships. I handed her the keys to my Malibu property. She cried, I didn't, because I wasn't sad. I was done. The days leading up to the wedding were a kind of theater. Not the fun kind with flowers and laughter. The quiet kind, where every smile hides a knife and every promise is written in vanishing ink. Marla, radiant in custom silk robes and pearl-tinted heels, played the role of doting fiancé so well it could have won her an award. She kissed me just enough, held my hand in front of the photographers, whispered things like forever and soulmate, as though she believed it. But I had heard the truth. That night in the bathroom was no dream, no misunderstanding. Knew what she really thought, and so did the silence between us. It grew heavier by the hour. 2 days before the wedding, she insisted on having a final planning dinner at the rooftop restaurant of the W Private Table. Champagne Tower. Her idea of luxury. She clinked her glass to mine and said, "Can you believe we're about to be husband and wife?" I smiled, sipping the dry champagne I'd stopped enjoying years ago. Almost there, she leaned in, her hand grazing mine. "And then we get to share everything." I held her gaze. "Oh, we will." She smiled like a cat watching a canary walk toward its cage. Like and subscribe if you've ever felt the stab of betrayal in the middle of someone's smile. Drop a comment. Have you ever let someone lie just to see how far they'd go? That night, while she slept tangled in ivory sheets beside me, I got out of bed and opened the box in the closet. The one labeled prenup. She hadn't signed it, claimed it was unromantic. I pulled it out anyway and stared at the blank signature line. Not mine, hers. She never intended to sign it, because she never intended to earn my love. She only intended to inherit it. I slipped the document into the fire-safe lockbox. I wouldn't need it. The morning of the wedding came in soft gray light. It was supposed to rain, but somehow the skies held their breath. The venue was absurdly beautiful. A converted vineyard outside Santa Barbara where golden vines curled through aged trellises and white petals danced in the wind like confetti made from silence. Everything was perfect. The guests, the lighting, the harpist I hired just because. She reminded me of the dreams I used to have. Marla arrived in a Rolls. The dress she wore had been flown in from Italy. Lace hand-stitched by nuns in a village so small you'd need a compass to find it. She stepped out like a queen claiming her kingdom. And I stood there, black tux, steady breath, hands folded, watching her walk toward me. Everyone stood, phones in hand, eyes wide with envy. She grinned, practically glowing. The woman who thought she'd pulled off the heist of a lifetime. When the officiant asked if I had vows, I nodded. I pulled a folded page from my pocket. Not the one I'd written months ago. That one was ashes now. This one? It was new. Honest. Sharp, I cleared my throat. Marla, I said, when I met you, I believed in coincidence. In the beauty of unexpected kindness. In serendipity. She smiled. But sometimes, what seems like coincidence is actually calculation. Her smile flickered. I went on. Calm, clear. The way you speak when you're done pretending. I heard. The call you made. The one at 1:14 a.m. in the guest bathroom. The one where you said I was obsessed and that California law was your real prenup. The audience gasped. Marla's face drained of color. I continued. I want to thank you for reminding me that love isn't just about who stands beside you, but who stands for you when no one's watching. I turned to the crowd. And thank you to all our guests. I hope you came hungry, because there's dinner, dessert, and a story you'll be telling for years. The officiant stammered. Sir, is this? I raised a hand. I'm not done. I turned back to Marla. She was frozen. I gave it all away, I said. Every cent, every share, every property. Gasps again. Murmurs. I pulled out a small envelope. This is all I kept. A check. $1,000. That's all I have to my name now. I handed it to her. It's yours. For the performance. She didn't move. This isn't funny, she hissed. Stop. But I wasn't joking. I took a step back. I loved you, I said softly. And maybe you thought you loved me too, but what you really loved was my life, the version of me that could fund your fantasy. I nodded toward the aisle. You can. Go now. She didn't. She just stood there. Then, slowly, her hands curled into fists. You think this makes you noble? She spat. You think giving it all away makes you some kind of hero? No, I said. It makes me free. She walked out. No shoes, no words, just fury in her steps. Half the guests followed. The rest stayed. Quiet, confused, still holding champagne. I stood there alone, then smiled, because for the first time in years, I felt clean. The wedding ended in a half-empty ballroom. The band played softer now, unsure if they should continue. The caterers passed out champagne with nervous hands. Guests whispered like mourners at a funeral for someone they were still deciding if they liked. I stood at the edge of the vineyard, staring out at the rows of dusk-lit grapes, wind combing through them like fingers through silk. Alone. Free. Broke. And somehow weightless. I didn't go back to the penthouse that night. It wasn't mine anymore anyway. I went to the small apartment I had leased under a different name, the one no one knew about. 1 bedroom, bare walls, a mattress on the floor, and a window that looked out on nothing but brick and a rusting fire escape. I made myself a cup of tea from a single bag I'd brought from the old house. Sat on the floor, closed my eyes, no money, no fiancé, no headlines, yet, but no lies. And I thought, maybe this is the first real day I've lived in years, until the knock at the door. 3 short taps, not urgent, not angry. I didn't move at first. I hadn't told a soul about this place. I walked slowly, barefoot, heart already preparing for confrontation. I opened the door, and there she was. Not Marla, Celeste, the director of the shelter I'd signed over my house to. The woman who had hugged me with tears in her eyes when I gave her the keys to a mansion. She stood in the hallway in a long brown coat, her hair twisted up, her face unreadable. She held up a slip of paper. The address was attached to the key paperwork. I only just saw it. I didn't mean to intrude. I stepped aside. Come in. We sat facing each other. 2 cups of tea between us. 2 people who had seen too much of the world to pretend anymore. She stared at me for a long time. I watched the live stream, she said finally. My breath caught. I wasn't invited, but someone streamed it anyway. It's already gone viral. People are calling you a legend, a fool, a saint, a lunatic. I managed a bitter smile. All true, maybe. She didn't smile back. You gave up your fortune to escape a lie. I nodded. She looked down at her tea. Then up again. But what if I told you? Not all of it was a lie? What do you mean? She set her cup down gently. I've been doing some research about Marla, about her connections. I blinked. You've been researching her? She visited our shelter once, Celeste said slowly, before she met you, under a different name. What? She was looking for someone, a girl named Tanya, her sister. I felt the air leave the room. I thought it was strange, Celeste said. The woman she described sounded like a ghost. And then a week later, she vanished. No trace. Until I saw your engagement photo and realized Marla wasn't some random con. She had a reason. A reason to use me? Celeste nodded slowly. She needed your platform, your money, not just for herself, for Tanya. The story unraveled slowly, like a ribbon dropped from a rooftop. Tanya had been in and out of state, care her whole life. Trafficked at 16, Missing at 19. Resurfaced in a rural shelter under a false name, then vanished again. Marla, whose real name was Marlene, had spent 2 years trying to find her, but she was out of resources. No family, no stability. Just a fierce, desperate will. That desperation brought her to me, not because she loved me, but because she needed a miracle, and she didn't care who she stepped on to get it. I sat in silence. A bitter, tangled silence. She still used me. Still lied. But the lie was heavier now. No longer just greed. Not just cruelty. It was need. The worst kind. The kind born from grief. I didn't know what to feel. I had spent months loving someone who was using me. Then I had spent a week hating her for it, and now I felt something worse. Pity. Where is she now? I asked. Celeste shrugged. I don't know, but I think she'll come to you. I looked out the window. The city blinked back at me. Endless, silent, waiting. She might be dangerous, Celeste said quietly. She might be broken. I know. But she might also be trying to save someone, I finished. Celeste stood. I'll leave you with that. Just don't turn cold. Not after what you did. I didn't do it to be warm, I said. I know. But the world needs people like you to stay human. She paused at the door. And not just because you're rich or brave or forgiving, but because you still know how to hurt. Then she left. I didn't sleep. I just sat by the window all night waiting. For a face I wasn't sure I'd ever want to see again. For a voice I'd once trusted with my life. For the ghost of a lie. Walking toward the truth. She came at 3:27 a.m. I know because I hadn't moved from the window, hadn't blinked in what felt like hours. The city was silent at that time, caught between bar fights ending and birds beginning. I saw her from 5 stories up. Hair a mess. Makeup. Smeared. Jacket stained with something I didn't want to name yet. She didn't look like the woman who kissed me on the coast. She didn't even look like the woman who lied in my bed. She looked like the part of someone who had run so far. There was nothing left of the starting line. And somehow, I opened the door. She didn't speak. Just stepped into the room, shoulders shaking. And when I saw the smear on her hands, dark, tacky, not quite red, I stepped back. Is that blood? I asked. She blinked, looked down, whispered, I found her. The silence was brutal. I sat her down, fetched a towel, handed her. Water, tried not to speak too loudly. Where? I asked eventually. Where did you find Tanya? She looked up, and that's when I saw the woman beneath the mask. The fury gone, the calculation stripped away. She looked human, not fragile, not harmless, but real. I followed someone, she said, from a shelter. He was trying to move her again, like cargo. Her voice cracked. I confronted him. I didn't mean to. It just happened so fast. I understood. Not because she told me what she'd done, but because I saw it in her eyes. She had stopped being a con artist the moment she became a sister again. I couldn't save her, she whispered. She was already gone when I got there. Her body was there, but her mind. She looked down at her shaking hands. I wanted to believe I could fix it. That if I had money, power, someone like you, that I could put her back together. Tears now. I used you, I know. But I never meant to fall into it so deep. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. You think I'm a monster, she said quietly. I shook my head. No. I think you're a fire that got too hungry. And when fires get desperate, they burn everything, even what they love. She nodded. Silent. I didn't love you at first, she said. I told myself I was just doing what I had to. But somewhere in the middle, I started to see you, not as a mark, but as... She trailed off. As a person? I asked. as someone I didn't deserve. She reached into her pocket, pulled out the check I gave her at the altar, the final $1,000 still folded. "I couldn't cash it," she said, "because if I did, it would mean it was all for nothing." I took the check, tore it in half, then again, until it was confetti. "Nothing we've done has been for nothing," I said, "even when we didn't know what the hell we were doing." She nodded. Then she asked the question I wasn't ready for. "Can I stay here tonight?" I stared at her, this woman who had betrayed me, lied to me, used me, and also bled for a sister the world forgot. I should have said no. But something deeper, older than rage, older than love, said yes. She slept on the floor. I gave her a blanket, and in the morning, she was gone, but not without leaving a letter, written on the back of a Chinese takeout menu. "You saved more than my sister. You saved the part of me I thought was dead. Maybe that's worth more than a fortune. I'm going to find peace now, not money, not headlines, just peace. Thank you, M." I never saw her again. But 2 years later, a new shelter opened in Nevada for girls with no ID, no history, no voice. The founder, listed as anonymous, the building, named the Tanya Home, and on the door, hand-carved in wood, "Don't save me to own me. Save me to free me." Sometimes people ask me what happened to the money, why I walked away, what I regret. I don't. Because what I gave up in dollars, I gained in truth. And the truth is, I didn't lose everything. I let go of what was never mine to keep. Like and subscribe if you've ever been betrayed and still chose to walk with grace. Drop a comment. What would you give up to save your own soul? I'm here for your stories, because the best ones don't come with diamonds. They come with scars. The end.